Welcome to the Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. This podcast is designed to provide momentum in our God-given roles of leadership as we partner together to equip today's Christian leaders for tomorrow's opportunities. Whether you're a pastor, youth leader, ministry volunteer, parent, or student, we want to be your go-to and most trusted resource for equipping and encouragement when it comes to your ministry and leadership influence. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome back for another Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. My name's Eric, and you got Donny and I here today in the studio. Donny, welcome.
Hello, Eric. Great to be here.
The one and only Donny Varney, Vice President of Momentum Ministry Partners. We're excited to have you back.
It's good to be back.
Donny, you've been on several episodes now, and I got to tell you, buddy, the feedback that we've gotten from several of your episodes has been tremendous. So the people are requesting. It might have been your mom or maybe your wife, but
it definitely wasn't me. So I'm sure of that. I can't listen to myself, but I bet it was my mom. Mom.
There you go. Nice. Well, Donny, today we're going to talk about embracing obstacles in terms of ministry. I think if we're honest, this is something that both you and I have had a lot of experience in. Anybody who's maybe been in ministry for a hot minute has had an obstacle or two get thrown their way. And we're not necessarily talking about like being persecuted. We're not necessarily talking about considering it joy when you face trials of many kinds. We're kind of talking more about challenges in ministry that we would define as an obstacle. So Donny, let's just kind of out the gate, like define an obstacle in ministry for us. Maybe even give some examples of obstacles in ministry. Maybe we can say hypothetically, but we know that we'll share even real ones that we faced here as well.
Yep. I would say practically speaking, there, in my mind, when I think especially of people who are in ministry and you're working with people and you're in a church setting, perhaps, it can get very discouraging when you have these challenges, these obstacles, and they come at you from all sorts of different angles. So maybe it's a financial obstacle where you're like, I need these resources in order to make this thing happen. We need this, and it's not coming in, and so that's an obstacle. Maybe it's involvement with people from just an attendance standpoint. Maybe it's from a volunteer standpoint. Maybe it's from a leadership standpoint. Maybe it is getting people to buy into something and they're not. Maybe it's in the form of criticism. Maybe it's in the form of a friend who you love and appreciate and has been a part of what you're doing, but for some reason they're now almost like working against you. That could probably be some of the worst forms of an obstacle that you might feel like you're facing. Maybe it's a missed opportunity or an opportunity that you really felt like this was the future of where we needed to go. And for whatever reason, that hasn't happened or couldn't happen, or it's taking longer than it could. And all of the effects that come, the consequences that come, the ramifications of that missed opportunity. So those will just be a few off the top of my head as far as examples that are out there. I'm sure you've got some of those resonate with you. What other ones maybe that you have?
Yeah, I love where you're going, because I think we want to be very careful and we want to be very clear in this conversation. Overcoming obstacles may very well, if you're in ministry, be a lack of resources. So you listed like volunteers or finances or something up, fill in the blank, right?
Yep.
But if we're honest, and we like to be honest here at the Momentum Podcast, it may often be a team member. It may be a person. It may be lack of vision. It may be a certain set of circumstances that often involves other people. And usually people on your team, maybe it's one guy on your elder board who doesn't understand, and you have a policy that you need to have a unanimous vote in order to move forward with a new hire or with some major decision. And so that those things we do not want ever to make light of those things. They're real, they're challenging, they're difficult, they can be very frustrating. But what we do want to help you do in this conversation is think through identifying what are those obstacles. How do you identify the obstacle? How do you embrace it? How do you understand? Maybe you need to have more time in prayer and allow the Holy Spirit to give you and your team, the leaders, the decision makers, unity and clarity. And so maybe it's you need to realign resources. So, Donnie, some of mine as a longtime youth pastor, they were often a difference in opinions of how we should go about doing something. And it can be challenging. It can be difficult. Oftentimes it was a lack of resources, right? We want to send 100 students to Momentum Youth Conference, which means we are going to need to rent 2 charter buses. We only budgeted for 1. What do we do? Right? That's real. That was a real scenario. We know we need to hire another staff person, and we don't have the resources to do it, and we're burning out our volunteers left and right. So what do you do in that scenario? Embracing these obstacles, these kind of things come up all the time in ministry, and we really do hope that this conversation would be beneficial. But Donnie, before we kind of break this down a little bit, what we're seeing at Momentum Ministry Partners right now, we're partnering with local churches all over the country. And statistically speaking, from Barna and Church Pew Research, all these researchers are putting out stats that basically are talking about pastors are burning out. They're feeling isolated and lonely. And some of this stuff is the very thing that the enemy can use to cause frustration, cause people to quit, cause people to feel alienated and isolated, or even persecuted and afflicted. So, Donnie, would you maybe share a time where you was there a time where you seriously considered quitting because you couldn't overcome an obstacle? What kind of kept you going through that season? I know you've wore a lot of hats and been in ministry, different ministry roles throughout the years. Surely there's something.
Oh yeah. Many days. So I think I play it well, that I don't maybe come across as that emotional. I think I come across as fairly like steady, and we're just going to keep kind of moving things forward. Maybe not. But the reality is, I can very much be on an emotional roller coaster and have good days and bad days, good moments, bad moments, good seasons, bad seasons. And, I'm being pretty vague with good and bad, but for sure during those bad moments, seasons, whatever, you are way more susceptible to like any obstacle that might be entering into your ministry life can be the thing that might make you consider quitting. So for me, yes, that's happened many times. There's not just one, but I think rejection, and it is for me the hardest thing. So anytime I've ever felt like I've kind of put myself out there, maybe it's a proposal, maybe it's an idea, maybe it's a vision that I really see we should do. And I always kind of I'm always trying to sell something, but maybe you're selling it to your volunteers, your people. Sometimes you're selling it to, if I'm looking at youth pastors, maybe it's to their pastor, maybe it's to an exec team, maybe it's to an elder board, maybe it's to their deacons, maybe it's just to the congregation, but you're trying to you're putting yourself out there. Like, I've thought this through. I've got in counsel. I feel like this is what we're supposed to do. And for lack of a better term, even if there's some good that comes from it, from the feedback, the overall feeling is rejection. You're like, I don't see what you see. That for me, which has happened many times, never feels good. And it makes me reconsider everything in those moments of like, I don't know, what did I miss? Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not the guy that should lead us forward. I don't know. And so it's just all these second guessing that can spiral you all the way to get out of ministry. So, one example in particular is for me, it was a handful of years ago as a sports ministry pastor. I feel like I can even share this openly. If I'm being honest, I had gone through a really successful time for about 6 years straight. Everything that we were doing not only was well loved, well received, well resourced, things were growing, things were moving forward. Pastor Jeff, who you guys many of our listeners would know him. He would be my boss. He would be our senior pastor. And this was around the time that we were saying, you know what? Things are going so well that we're going to launch a 3, maybe 4-year vision campaign to raise money and to raise more support to see sports ministry on a whole nother level. So at that point, super excited. And I can't believe this is happening. This is wonderful. And so we're having a lot of behind the scenes meetings of like, what are we going to do in this new gym? What is the new version, 2.0 of what we're going to do with sports ministry? Well, I'm tasked with coming up with ideas and thoughts and strategies of what this could look like. And several key parts of that were received well. The thing that I actually was most excited about and probably put the most energy towards to try to and give a vision for, I think this is what we could do. It got rejected, Eric. And I had 4 follow-up meetings with several other people and just no one saw it. And I tried every angle I could to be like, I really think this, and everything you could imagine. And those who know me, they can realize he probably did. And it never took off, never. And it just didn't. And now, was I going to quit over it? Obviously I didn't. Did I think, I don't know, maybe this whole thing isn't for me? I mean, yeah, all of those thoughts are very real. So anyway, all that to say, rejection when you're trying to get other people on board with what you're trying to do, that's a big obstacle for, I think, a lot of people in ministry.
Donny, thanks for being honest about that, because the reality is every single pastor, every single leader that I talk to, when you press deep enough, when you ask the candid question, we all have those stories. We all have those moments where the program that I led, the ministry that I was overseeing, maybe the ministry that I launched or was a part of creating, had to close its doors and call its final day, and we shut it down, due to whatever reason, and those things hurt.
Yeah,
that can be challenging. And so honestly, there are times where Donnie, you and I were even talking about this the other day, when those things happen, you may say to your team, I need to take a mental day. I need to take a moment to grieve the loss of this. And I need to just, I'll be fine. I'll be okay. Yeah. But I need a minute. I need a minute to kind of just wrestle with this and realize that this is okay and that this is a part of the Lord's plan and we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But to allow yourself just to feel the weight of that, remember the good things that God used in and through those things, and move on.
Yep.
We don't have to give the enemy a foothold in it, but we can take a minute and just rejoice and mourn and grieve and get back on the track.
Yeah. A phrase, and I've had to say this many times, and so much so that even as I only use this phrase when I know that not only am I feeling rejected, but I can tell that the people who do love me and care about me, they also can tell that I'm feeling rejected. And I almost feel like I have to not only be okay with what's going on, but I actually have a little bit of a responsibility with the people who are entrusting a lot of things with me and they understand that I'm leading a lot of people and I'm a part of this team of what I'm doing, I need to kind of give them a reassurance that's going to be okay. And so the 2-word phrase I use is bounce back. And I just say, listen, guys, just so you know, I will bounce back from this. It's going to be okay, but I'm not there right now. But I can reassure you, I'll bounce back. I'll bounce back. Yeah. So I think there's even just even in the moment of what you're saying, the grieving process of whatever it is that you kind of put your heart into, because you take these things personally. There should be still some voice in your head. Hopefully, I think it's, the Holy Spirit who's saying, you know what, you'll bounce back. This isn't the end. You'll bounce back. So, yeah.
So, Donny, let's maybe go the other perspective here. Let's say you're a senior pastor, you're the top decision maker on an issue, and you're the one that has to make that call of, hey, we're not gonna make this decision, we're not gonna start this ministry, we're not gonna allocate resources to this end, and that people aren't happy with you. How do you, maybe, I guess I want to leverage that towards when you're in those situations, how do you discern whether the obstacle is a test that you endure, or is it a sign that something bigger needs to change? Maybe let's put it that way.
Well, I've never been a senior pastor, but ironically, I interact with all kinds of senior pastors, and I think I understand and appreciate the leadership strain that they have. Whether or not can fully be with them on the preaching and teaching load that they carry. But from a leadership standpoint, been in many situations and talked through a lot of different scenarios where you're trying to discern what do I need to slow this thing down? Should I stop it altogether? Is it me? Is it you? And as someone's trying to, the two things I would say is, do you feel like you are getting more freedom? And do you feel like your trust is increasing? Do you feel like freedom is increasing and trust is increasing with the people that have been that you're around? And if those things are generally speaking healthy and in a trajectory that's growing, the freedom and the trust, then whatever the obstacle is, whatever the opportunity is, that's going to come and go, and you should be okay with it. And I would say you should accept defeat. You should accept that it's something that we need to move on from for now, and it's just the timing isn't right or whatever. But if you're in a situation where you are the leader and you feel like, I think I actually have less freedom and I feel like there might be less trust, then that should give you pause to start to reconsider and figure out, is this a sign of something else that I really need to do a deeper dive into? But as long as the trust and the freedom you feel like overall that's healthy, then take or leave the obstacle and sort it through and keep moving forward. So those would just be two things that I've wrestled through, even in my own journey and as I've counseled other people. And it seems to make sense, because then they can pretty quickly be like, no, I do, or I don't feel like I'm good on the trust and the freedom side. If you have that, I think you're fine.
That's super good, Donny. That I like what you're saying of the trust and the freedom. Those are really helpful, mile markers, even pillars to kind of consider. I think the other thing that I've learned over my years of being in ministry is is there unity?
Yeah.
Is there buy-in from the team and the people that are making those decisions? And honestly, having an elder board or a executive team or a leadership council or whatever it is that is diverse, where you have different people on that team that are thinking about those things from different angles and perspectives, don't cancel that. Don't when the one person who is the older voice or has more years of experience, when they're saying, this gives me pause, then the rest of us need to listen to that. When the one male on the team or the one female on the team has a different opinion because it connects with them and hits them different, listen.
Yeah.
That's where you slow down the decision-making process and really pray and ask clarifying questions and try to get to the heart of the issue to take those things into account. And so oftentimes I think we can in ministry steamroll and speed ahead for sake of moving the needle or moving the ball down the field or whatever you want to say. And it's at the cost of some of those people that you've invited on your team that you need to be a part of the leadership decision and making those tough decisions. So really thinking through the unity, are we all bought in? And then even one of the questions that I've learned to ask is like, is this a conviction for you?
Yeah.
And if it's not, if they're like, no, it's a preference. Okay, well then can we move on? Yes. If it's a conviction, why? Why is this a conviction? Why are you convicted over this? And so hearing them out.
Yeah.
And so really wrestling through that is, I think, a helpful process. So
totally agree.
Donny,
I like that. I like that add on with the unity, and I think that's another really great test to ask yourself. And yeah.
Okay, when the obstacle has a name, it's a person. I won't go to, when the obstacle has a name and it's, Elder Bob. I think everybody has an Elder Bob. When it's the pastor's wife, we shouldn't go too far down the road because some of these will touch nerves with people. But when the obstacle is due to another person, Donny, what steps do you recommend taking to help solve that or identify it?
Well, this is how I try to do this. And I think I'm more bent this way than maybe some other people. So this might seem easier to me than I think other personality types might be like, oh, please tell me that's not the path, any other path than this. But I've just found a ton of fruit from this. And I'll just say it like 17 different ways, but listen, understand, pay attention, ask questions. I don't know how many other ways you want to do this, but like really, truly take a position with this other person from a humble heart that is assuming that there's something that you need to hear and there's something that you need to improve, or there's a perspective that you currently lack, or there's a viewpoint that you don't yet have, or there's a hurt that you are unaware of, et cetera, et cetera. There's something there, and you just have to make that assumption and just keep attacking that for as long as you feel like you possibly can, until hopefully by God's grace, a light bulb goes off, you understand it. Because I don't know, 9 times out of 10, it's not that you guys that there's really, the obstacle is that there's something that's not clear, there's some miscommunication, or there's something that hasn't fully been aligned. But talking it through and taking a position of listening will get there most of the time,
I love that, because I think what we've learned just even in ministry is like oftentimes when there's some big emotional blow up, or when there's somebody who has very vocal about something and there's a hurt, there's clear wounds, there's maybe they're even being disruptive and you don't know why. More than likely, there's something going on in their heart that you don't know about. There's some reason why they're bringing that up. There's something in their past, or there's something in their history. And so getting to the bottom of that, listening, asking questions is really good. Yeah.
There's a business phrase that I think it can apply to ministry. I read it somewhere, and then I've heard it said a lot of times, and I've always tried to remember this. It's kind of the idea of embracing obstacles, but it's the obstacle is the way. And it kind of, that phrase basically means, and not only is obstacle something to endure, it's something to embrace, because it's almost something to get excited about, as crazy as that sounds, and it's an opportunity. It's like, man, you know what? This elder or this person that currently there's an issue that we are totally on opposite sides of, this is going to be an opportunity for me to understand this person in a way that it's a great excuse. It's a great excuse for me to establish and build more trust that I've never had with them fully, because this issue is here. And I'm kind of excited to be able to build trust with this individual and to learn something about them that I didn't learn before. And there's a good chance that even if we don't end up fully seeing eye to eye on this thing, I'll have learned something else about them where I see them, I hear them, I know them. And as a leader now, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if we're going to fully get this thing figured out, but what I can tell you for sure is, now that I know this about you, buddy, friend, I'm going to go to bat big time in this area. And when they receive that and they understand your heart, that like, you know what, we might in life, we're not going to always see eye to eye on everything, but I can tell that you care about me, you know me. And now that you've heard this about me and you're going to go here as hard as you can in this way, there's a mutual appreciation that then allows them to be like, hey, I don't get why you're doing this, but you know what? I'm going to support it, because I know that deep down you're supporting me. And it's not about the issue, really. It's about, do we have trust and do we actually truly love each other? And if you can go to bat for me here, then you know what? Even though I don't fully agree with you on this, I trust you enough that God obviously must be, leading you in this way. And I want to help in that way. It's not a self-serving thing, because maybe it won't work out that way. But truly, it's an honest attempt to try to let the person know you really are for them, and you will do within your means anything you can to be there for them.
Yeah, it's a connection point instead of a division point now.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
All right, Donny. What if the obstacle is due to a lack of resources? What steps can you take? How do you identify that?
Well, the same answer, same idea of like, the first one was like, listen in different ways. I would just say, sell. And maybe you're not selling to the right person. Maybe you're not selling to the right people. So maybe you need to sell to somebody different. Maybe you need to change what it is you're selling. Maybe you need to think through a different way to sell it. I know that sell might not be the best ministry word to use, so forgive me for that. But I think at the end of the day, there usually, if it's resources, it's really a vision issue, because at some point, if it is a great vision that you really feel passionate about and you want other people to feel passionate about it, you need to be able to figure out, am I not saying this the right way? Does this not make sense? Is there something about it that isn't right? Or am I truly, you might be talking to someone or trying to convince someone, literally, I'm giving you everything I could possibly give you. And you have to be honest with the situation and be like, I don't know, maybe that is the lid that we're experiencing. So, but assuming that you feel like the resources are available to you, but you're not yet able to access them in a way that where people are fully bought in, literally, then I think it then goes back to trying to understand what is the disconnect. And it probably isn't the resource side, it's the vision side. And so it's probably some version of adjusting your vision or adjusting how you're communicating it so it makes more sense. And that might be more personal to me, because that tends to be my roadblock. Is I got the passion, I've got the idea, and it makes sense to me in my head, but I can just tell that as I'm talking to someone, they're like, can you say that a different way? And then I say it that way, like, can you say it again, but maybe a slightly different way? And then the fourth attempt, so, and then they'll summarize it back in a few seconds. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm saying. And okay. And then they're like, yes, whatever you want, I'm in. So, I think so. For everyone, the resource question might be different, but for me, it's usually trying to communicate the vision a little bit more clearly until they get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Eric? When you think about that, what comes to your mind?
Donnie, honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head of like just and I understand like what you're saying of sell. You're not necessarily talking about like start listing all your belongings on Facebook
No,
Marketplace.
right.
You're talking about casting vision, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up because in a week or two we're going to release another episode that we're going to talk about casting vision and how do you give vision according to concentric circles. So we'll if you're listening to this conversation right now and you're like, oh, talk more about that, we will. We heard you. But honestly, beyond that, Donnie, I think asking the question to the people that are on your team, hey, here's the goal that we're trying to accomplish. This obstacle has been unearthed. We see that this is the obstacle, whether it's financial, whether it's a lack of volunteers or whatever the lack of resource is. In that scenario, I think just identifying it and letting people in on the process.
Yeah.
There have been so many times that I have seen it play out where when you're able to vocalize those needs, then it allows God to provide the resources.
Yeah.
And there are times where it really is people in the church, people in the congregation who are willing to give, who are willing to go above and beyond what they've already done, who are willing to make sacrifices because they believe in what you're doing. It provides opportunities to watch God work and to see him provide in powerful ways.
Yeah.
And so that builds further vision, that gets more people excited. It allows people to rejoice in what God's doing. And then it's the Lord, and it's not something that you mustered up. It's not, well, I sacrificed my paycheck this week in order to pay for this, and that.
Right.
Sure, there may be times where you have to do that and make those decisions. But when you vocalize the need and you allow other people to be used and be a part of the plan, that's beautiful.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. All right. So last one. What if you don't know the obstacle? You're like, there's something preventing us from moving forward. I don't know what it is. It's not a person. It's not a lack of resources. But clearly we cannot seem to solve this problem. We cannot seem to gain traction. We can't seem to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
What then? What steps do you take? What do you recommend?
Well, I feel like this will either feel, for some of our listeners, they're like, that's the right answer. And other people are going to be like, that's a cop out. But I think it's appropriate for this question to answer it with pray. I think that's what you're doing. Pray, a phrase that I've adopted that I don't think you can insert a different word other than prayer. And this actually is true. Maybe you'll find another word and prove me wrong, but I challenge any of our listeners to find another word that you can swap this out where it's actually true. But pray when you feel like it. Pray when you don't feel like it. Pray until you feel like it. I think that's one of the only things that I do believe can happen. I believe even when your heart's not there and you don't feel like it, I think the actual answer to do is to still to do it. And I think eventually you'll feel like it. So anyway, just pray. I think eventually God will make those things clear. Certainly wise counsel, and surround yourself with a multitude of counselors, as the Bible would say over and over again, is something to do. I'm making the assumption that we're already probably taking a lot of those steps, and at some point, God will make that clear.
Yeah, Donnie, I don't think that's a cop out at all. In fact, I think that's probably the most important thing that we could possibly do.
Yeah,
because it's tapping into the Lord's strength and not our own.
Yep.
He knows. He's all powerful. He's all knowing. He's always with us. And so in that regards, why not ask the person who has the information and has the answer and knows the next steps for us to take, and asking him to reveal it? What's the old acronym? PUSH. Pray until something happens.
There you go.
Push through, pray until something happens. He'll make it clear.
Yeah.
Ask him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So often we're guilty in ministry of not really praying about it. And And then on the flip side, on the back end, not giving God the credit either.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, wow, look what happened. And isn't this great? Look what our church did. And our pastor's so wonderful. And it's the Lord who wants the credit and deserves the glory. Yeah.
Completely agree.
Thank you very much for taking some time with us and sharing just vulnerably what has happened in your life and in your ministry. And we do hope that this has been beneficial to our listeners. We hope that you have found the obstacles in your life to maybe be a little bit lighter through this conversation. And if not, pray. Pray. Ask the Lord. He knows. He has a purpose and a plan. And Momentum Ministry Partners, we want to come alongside of you and help encourage, support you, that you would have maximum impact for His kingdom. So keep up the good work. Thanks for tuning in. Donny, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope you found it to be valuable. And if you did, would you share it with someone else in your network who might enjoy it? Also, would you please go on and subscribe, rate, and review it? That way you don't miss any more and somebody else will be able to find it too. Also, because we want to be your trusted resource, if you have a question or topic that you would like us to discuss on an upcoming episode, send that to us via email to info@buildmomentum.org, or you can send us a DM on any of our social media platforms. You can find us there at Momentum Ministry Partners. Also, if you need more information on our ministry, be sure to check out our website at buildmomentum.org. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you next time.